Welcome, everyone, and well done on starting your Pilates journey. My name is Winn-Rooke, and I'm a STOTT qualified Pilates instructor. I do want to ask, please, that you have been given the go-ahead from your doctor if you've had any pre-existing conditions or previous injuries that you are concerned about. Also want to ask that you have clarity on your goals moving forwards, whether these are creating more suppleness or strengthening the core so that you can better your time on a marathon. Make sure that you have these goals at the forefront of every class that you do. It helps with commitment. The STOTT program works with different levels. We start on level 1 for beginners and we work up to level 5 for advanced. I'm going to ask that you please, no matter how fit you are and how familiar you are with the Pilates method of movement, that you start with this particular class. Try and do a level 1 class as well, just so that you can understand the principles that we apply to the exercises and you can become a little bit more familiar with the STOTT Pilates repertoire. And should you have any concerns, please email me and I will gladly help. Following, I'm going to take you through the 5 basic principles, which is breathing, pelvic placement, rib cage placement, scapular movement and stabilization, head and cervical placement. I'm going to take you through these principles, explain them very briefly to you, and show you how we apply them to the exercises. It's not important for you to learn this off pat. This is what I will be cueing through every exercise you do. So let's get started. Our first principle is breathing. Breathing helps to relax us and de-stresses us. It also helps us to achieve stability. Our breath pattern is in through the nose and out through pursed lips, so you almost feel as though you're blowing through a very thin straw. That resistance to the exhale helps to connect into those abdominal muscles. So the breath can either aid in the exercise or it can challenge the exercise slightly. Obviously, in level 1 exercises, I'm going to use the breath pattern that helps make that exercise a little bit easier. We breathe 3-dimensionally, so we're going to try and encourage breath into the front, the back, and the sides of the rib cage. We're also trying to breathe very deeply into the very lower lobes of the lungs where the most amount of gaseous exchange is going to take place. Let's get going with a few breathing exercises. All right, so you've kicked off the shoes. I need you to be sitting up nice and tall. Feet are hip distance apart. Hands are just nice and lightly on the outside of your shins. Lengthen tall through the spine. If this is an uncomfortable position, you want to just prop yourself up on a roller or a cushion so that you don't feel too much work in those hip flexors. And let's get going. So the breath is in through the nose and out through pursed lips. Feel relaxed in your neck and shoulders. Deep breath in. Feel that rib cage expanding in all directions when you breathe in. And feel the connection of the abdominal muscles as you breathe out. Lengthen tall. You're going to breathe in through the nose. On your exhale, I want you to start curling forwards from the top of the spine all the way down to the bottom. Holding the position and then lengthen back up again. You breathe in through the nose. You start to curl forwards at the top of the vertebra, flexing into the top thoracic as you reach the hands down towards the toes. Breathe in. And then you stack, lift, and lengthen. Reaching those ears away from the shoulders. Take a deep breath in. Curling forwards. Feel the navel draw back towards your spine as the arms lengthen towards the feet. You're holding the position here as you're breathing into the back and sides of the rib cage. Deep breath in. When you exhale, start to lift and lengthen again. Reaching up, sitting right on top of those sit bones. We're going to do another one. Breathe in through the nose. Curling forwards, flexing down and over. Holding it, breathe in. Relax your neck and shoulders and breathe out. Try not to slump over your lap. Keep the chest far from your thighs. And exhale, start to stack the spine, lifting and lengthening. Breathe in. Exhale, curling forwards, nice and lightly. Slide the hands down towards the feet. You're holding it here as you feel the breath going into the back of the rib cage. Deep breath in and exhale. You stack the spine, lifting and lengthening. So if those hip flexors feel the connection, over connection when you're sitting up like that, then you just want to prop yourselves up as I have on the roller, and we do the same thing in this position. You can also cross your legs if you find the alignment of those legs the knees need to be the same, and if this is hard, you want to just cross your legs. Breathing in and breathing out. Right, so lying back on the mat, feet are hip distance apart. I just want you to feel that connection of those abdominals as you exhale. Feel the pelvic floor lift and those abs deeply connect as you exhale. Deep breath in through the nose, and on your exhale, feel those abdominals pull nice and tight. Okay, our next principle is pelvic placement. We've got two different positions of the pelvis, neutral and imprint. Our neutral position is when the spine follows its natural curves. If you're standing up nice and tall, those are the natural curves that your spine takes on. Working in an imprint is when you've slightly flattened out the lower lumbar. This happens when the obliques are connected, pulling the hip bones towards the rib cage. It creates a little tilt of the pelvis. The pubic bone tilts slightly up towards the ceiling. That position we call an imprint. We work in a neutral position with the less challenging exercises. The more challenging exercises when we've got both legs up in the air, or what we call an open connected chain. That's when we work in an imprinted position. So what we've really done is we've recruited an extra layer of muscles, those obliques, just to help support the lower lumbar a little bit more. The idea is that as long as you have stability in the pelvis and you can control exercises without letting the entire trunk move around, that is what we call control, then you can work in that neutral position of the spine. But if you lack control or stability, let me call it, then we need to work in that imprinted position. Okay, guys, so for pelvic placement, I want you to be lying on your backs. Feet are hip distance apart and the arms are lengthened down by your sides. All we're trying to do is feel the control of the pelvis when the legs are moving. So stability in the pelvis is what we're looking for. You're going to take a deep breath in to prepare. On your exhale, I want you to lengthen the leg away from you. Make sure that you're holding the trunk nice and stable and draw the leg back up. To the opposite side, you lengthen the leg and draw the leg back up again. Now you're going to be working in what we call the imprint. Breathe in. On exhale, you imprint the spine. You're going to bring one leg up to tabletop. Holding the stability of the pelvis, lower the leg back down. Breathe in to prepare. On your exhale, lift the leg to tabletop. Breathe in. And then lower the leg back down. So all this is about is maintaining those hip bones nice and still when the legs are lifting and moving. It's called disassociation. Let's go. Take a deep breath in to prepare. On your exhale, I want you to imprint the spine by pulling those hip bones towards the rib cage. Breathe in. Exhale, draw the leg up to tabletop. Take a deep breath in. Hold your imprint and draw the opposite leg up. Could you hold that imprint? Breathe in, lower, and to the opposite side, lower down. And then release the pelvis back to neutral. Right, take a deep breath in. On your exhale, you imprint the spine. Breathe in. And on the exhale, both legs will lift to tabletop. Could you hold your imprint? Breathe in, and then release the tailbone back down, finding your neutral position. So just to recap, we're working in a neutral position on the spine when we work in a closed kinetic chain, when we've got either one or both feet on the mat, or sliding them away. But the moment we take those feet up into an open kinetic chain, we work our pelvis in that imprinted position. Okay, next principle is ribcage placement. So what we spoke about earlier is the spine following its natural curves. Now that is a nice neutral position of the spine. The moment our arms start to work, and we're doing circles and we're lifting them above our heads, what tends to happen, if you haven't connected into abdominal muscles, is that the spine changes shape because the rib cage pops open. So What we're going to do is we're just going to maintain the position of the spine by keeping the abdominal muscles, which are connected underneath the rib cage, connected, so that when the arms are moving, the rib cage remains in place, which in turn keeps the spine in its perfect form. All right, so lying on your backs, once again, the feet are hip distance apart. I want you to find your neutral spine. Remember, just prop a cushion underneath your head. Your neutral spine, you can feel the little hollow underneath your back. But you can also feel that the top of the rib cage is on the mat. If those arms lift up and over, the rib cage must not pull away from the mat. That is what we refer to as popping rib cage, which we don't want. All right, so let's get going. You're going to take a deep breath in to prepare. Deepen into those abs. Let the arms lengthen overhead. Make sure that the rib cage has not lifted off the mat when the arms reach up and over. In fact, to such an extent that if you can't feel the connection of the rib cage on the mat, then the arms shouldn't reach so far. Try and keep the arms a little higher. You're going to breathe in here and exhale, draw the arms back up to the ceiling. Breathe in. On your exhale, reach the arms up and over, keeping that rib cage knitted together. Hold it, breathe in, and exhale, draw the arms back up to the ceiling. Take a deep breath in. On your exhale, feel the rib cage push down onto the mat. Breathe in and draw the arms back up to the ceiling. One last one, breathing in. Exhale, reach those arms up and over, keeping the rib cage in place, keeping the spine following its natural curves. And that is rib cage placement. So it's a simple one. The reason why we keep our rib cage in place is because the abdominal muscles are connected. That's why we do it on an exhale. Connected into those abdominal muscles and keeping the rib cage in place, in turn keeping the spine in its natural curves. All right, scapular movement and stabilization principle. So your scapula, which are your shoulder blades, are at their most stable when they're lying flat up against the rib cage. So no winging, protraction or retraction. That is your most stable position, which differs from person to person. The idea is to make sure that we are working in our most stable position, because if we're not, there'll be a tendency to overwork the muscles around the neck and the shoulders. We need to try and make sure that we're in a stable position, whether we're in flexion, extension, or lateral flexion. We're also going to try and stabilize the shoulder blades when we do all work in the arms. Remember that because of a lack of direct bony attachment to the rib cage and spine, the scapula have got a lot of mobility, which in turn allows a great range of motion in the arms. So we need to strengthen our scapular stabilizers in order to support our shoulder joint and that rotator cuff.